right. We're so excited to have you back. It's another Friday, another time for your favorite podcast. We declared that we are your favorite podcast, just so you know.
There you go.
We
Yes.
My
have
force on
what?
fire.
Exactly. We have one of our good friends. You got a chance to meet his wife early on, Judith. And today we have Nansha. He's a good friend of mine. He's my husband, bestie. We know each other for a long time. And you know the funny story about him is that my mom has babysat him a long time ago
Oh, wow.
without even knowing. Yeah, because his mom and my uncle knew each other. And yeah, world is very small. So big on
Yes,
him.
Small
indeed.
world. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So he's
Welcome,
a big
Nansha.
brother. Here he is. He's
Thank
Welcome,
Colombian.
you.
Nansha. Our
Thank
now
you.
big brother than all of us. We have
Oh,
Yes.
thank you for
adopted
having
you.
me. I'm pleased to be here. I heard about the podcast of the two ladies. Really trying to do something very positive. So I'm really excited to be here. Pleasure meeting you, ladies, and
Yeah, thank you.
yeah, just trying to show some support and share a little bit about myself.
All
So
right.
yes, here we are. Here we
We
are.
ready.
Well, my name is Nansha Kalanji. Obviously, you met my wife already, Judith, who passed on your podcast before.
Mhm.
So I have been in the U.S. for quite some time. Sometime I would say maybe over 25 years, right? After 20 years, you stop really counting.
I know.
I
Yeah,
know.
I've been here for a while. I actually moved here from the Congo with my family and my siblings. I grew up in the Democratic Republic of Congo in the city of the capital, Kinshasa. I lived there until I was 14, 15. Went to boarding school my last 2 years because I was one of those boys that just couldn't stay still. So they had to go in the middle of the jungle over there, get some education, which was a great experience, by the way. Then, we had the opportunity to come in the US. My father was working here. My mom was already here when I came. She left before us. So, grew up in the States, currently worked in hospitality. I'm just kind of going to different experience every 10 years. I get into different careers, but
Mhm.
I currently working in hospitality. Also, I'm doing also soccer coaching with Birma's husband, which is a great
Right.
experience because we always find ourselves into
Mhm.
teaching. So it's something that I really loved working with kids. So I had that opportunity again to jump in, kind of help out a bit. So it's been a very great experience.
Right.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Here
So
we
tell
are.
us about your journey when you first came, what
Like
you
Wow.
your
got into your
expectation
passion
and the
for.
reality.
Yeah, well, you know
Yes.
what? When you're living in Africa, you always see America from this huge mirror, right?
Hmm.
And I think we all have been sold the American dream from far, right?
Mm.
The reality is you're coming to the promised land. That's really what the perspective is. I mean, obviously,
The
America
land
is a
of
great.
milk and honey.
That's right, land of milk and honey, and the U.S. is a great country. Don't get me wrong. I mean, there's plenty of opportunity here. We have to say it all depends on what you want to do with yourself, what your vision is. This is one of the few countries that will give you that platform to really excel in every way possible, right? And regardless of what people can say, I mean, if you really have your mind focused and you really have you really know what you want, and I think in America you can definitely be able to succeed. So you coming to the US has been it was a shaky road because you're coming into a country where you don't speak the language to begin with, you don't
Hmm.
understand the culture. So for me, I started in the US. I started up my last year of middle school, and then jumped to a high school because I was in eighth grade and moved into ninth grade, and that was an experience that I will never forget because it was a big school and I'm still learning English. I'm still, trying to find my way, and I'm still apart from the culture, and the way people interact, the way people speak, or the jokes, all those things was like something completely new to me. It was tough the freshman year because of my freshman year is, you trying to make friends. First of all, I didn't play basketball, I didn't play football, and I didn't play baseball. Those were the three keys. Obviously, the fourth one was track and field. So those are the three
Mhm.
core sports that most um, kids who
Here's
come
what we're
overseas, if you
Yeah.
involve yourself in one of those sports, chances are you will meet plenty of friends.
Yeah.
So, and because I play soccer, so there was a small community of students who actually play soccer, and the majority of them were foreigners. So
Oh.
you had maybe one or two Africans, maybe one or two Jamaicans, someone from the island, and then the rest was South Americans.
Mm.
Because we live in a community that was predominantly African Americans, and a lot of the student there were also foreigners from South America. So I tend to lean towards having those kind of friends. And it was really a really a shaky experience. My freshman year, which I always tell my sons I will never forget, was somehow I was getting teased, but I didn't know I was getting teased, because you speak with your African, accent,
Yes.
Mm.
and I never lost it. So, and then you get all these little jokes, and one time things got out of the way, and this guy was making fun of me. I didn't pay him no mind. In fact, I didn't pay him no mind. He got pretty, he was really kind of like aggravated for the fact that I wasn't communicating. I wasn't really paying him no mind, and it turned into a fight.
Oh.
And
Oh.
so luckily for me, I think when I was 12 to from the age of 12 to 14, my uncle put me into a boxing school that was just on the neighborhood. So I knew how to box when I was little.
Oh.
And he went pretty quick because the guy ended up falling on the floor after 1 to 3 punches. And I
Oh my
thought the fight
God.
was over, right? I'm like, oh, it's done. And as soon as I turned around, I'm like, what is going on? As I wake up, I'm looking up. I'm like, what? I end up going from one-on-one fight to
To
eight
like,
against
Yeah.
one fight
oh my
because
Oh
God.
my
his
gosh.
people jumped in.
Oh my
Next thing
God.
I know, I'm getting up. I can find one of my shoe because somebody decided to take one of my shoe off. So I'm walking around with one shoe on. I can't find my book bag. I don't know who hit me. There was just a whole bunch of people around me, and then the
That's
security
so,
came in and break up the fight. And
Wow.
and I found
Welcome
and
to
then
myself in
America.
it's like,
yep, and I find
oh,
myself in a principal office just wondering what just happened.
I
That was
know,
my
like,
first time I found out that in the US here, people don't fight fair. There is no, oh, like back home, you say, all right, we take our book bags up and everybody,
mm,
we take a little sand in the hand, you
uh,
slap the and I slap the sand and everybody make a circle and it's
circle, yeah. Uh-huh.
none of
No, we
that.
don't do that.
No,
You
I
know,
learned pretty quick. I was like, oh, so that's how it goes down. I'm like, okay, that's it. But that was the after that, you start making friends, but you also become aware. Okay, that was like an initiation of welcome to American high
Mm,
school, obviously. And for me, it was just like, okay. The one thing that I didn't experience very much at that time was really, I didn't really experience, maybe because I didn't understand at the time, but I didn't really experience much racism.
mm,
It was more,
wow.
the school was, the majority of the students was African American and Latinos.
mm,
You had also have a few Caucasians, but it was mostly,
Diverse.
it was
mm-hmm,
a very diverse school, right? So
Mm.
for me, which is different than when I ended up going to college. So 4 years in high school, and then, obviously I went to college, a small college in New Jersey. It's called Ramapo College up in the mountains in north of Jersey. And that's
mm,
where really I got to experience a different type of America. And I think it's that experience really kind of helped me understand the differences in culture, but most importantly, the differences in in uh, in education as well. Because in back home we had this perspective, this vision of America. It's this gray land, but you never see um, on whether it's in TV, they never really portray the America as a place of racism or things of that nature, right?
mm,
Other than watching routine TV, because that's the history of America, but you
mm-hmm,
never really thought that those sort of things will continue to exist. So
Mhm.
when I came in college, that's when I started to see that, wow, I didn't know that African Americans had their own sororities,
mm,
fraternities. It was a very separated, segregated kind of
segregated,
environment.
yeah.
And
Mm,
here I am coming in, and not as an athlete playing soccer. Obviously, the majority of the students who play sports, soccer, were Caucasians.
mm,
Maybe a few Hispanics. So I tend to lean towards that group.
mm,
And me not knowing, it kind of made the
Yeah.
African American student feel like I was a sellout.
Yep.
oh, that's
Yep.
interesting,
And
yeah.
I didn't even know what a sellout was
It
at the time,
was.
right? So you walking around, you go
Oh,
with your friends, you go grab something to eat. We played it together with teammates.
mm,
And my teammate also were very friendly to me because they also see me someone who's different. I
Yeah.
never raised any questions
Interesting.
anything
Pass
about the
on. Yeah.
struggles of, I didn't relate. I didn't know
Mm.
about that as well. So at one time, we decided to go to, there was a student center, there was a party, but the party was organized by the Kappa group, which is a African American
Fraternity.
fraternity.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, my friends like, hey, let's go to the party. Yeah. Obviously there was a soccer team for girls as well. So they're all also white. So
Mm.
here I am walking around with all this, my wife, we're walking and I'm just seeing everybody's looks. And then one of the girls like, we should leave. And I was
Mm.
like, why? Why you want to leave? We didn't even party yet. I'm
Mm.
over here innocent. But they didn't want to tell me also, like, this is
Mm.
what's going on. So I
Mm.
walked out of there. I'm like,
Wow.
well, we didn't even get the chance to join the party, da da da. And I never got it. And then as I'm going to classes, I'm starting to start making friends. And you hear things like, yo, man, why you always hanging out with those people? Why you always hanging out with? I'm like, what do you mean? What
Wow.
that I'm hanging out with?
Mm.
Yeah, you got your people over here. I'm like, what do you mean I got my people over here?
I
Like,
know. It's like it's
I
just
didn't
people.
get it. I didn't
Yeah.
get it. And the, and then one time there was it was another, well, it was actually a student who actually was a little bit older than most of us. Yeah, it was an African American brother. Um, and he called me aside. He just, we used to also play ping pong. And I'm a student, I'm at the student
Mm.
center, I'm playing ping pong, and he likes playing ping pong. So we play ping pong, we joke around, we play pool. Then one day he he sat me down. He's like, hey, you're not so bad after all. I mean, you're a cool dude. I said, really?
After all.
After all.
Yeah. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, no, because you never really come and hang out with us. I said, because we have nothing in common. I'm talking to you now because we both like ping pong.
Ping pong. Yeah.
Yeah.
But other than that, what else did we have in common? He's like, wow, what do you mean? Like I say, I play soccer. You don't play soccer, right? You like basketball. I'm not really into basketball. So we really not, there's nothing really that big of a difference between us. And that conversation went on and went on, and and then we became friends.
Mm.
So now every time he's sitting down, if people are in the student center and they are, obviously you come in the student center and everyone's kind of sitting with their groups, like, hey, come hang out with us. And I'll start talking to them. And then he started introducing me to people. And then the next thing you know, I start making friends. And then as I started taking some of the classes, as I started taking some of the history classes, that's when things started to click. Then the aha moment comes, and I'm like, oh, okay, so this is why this is this. This is why it's. So
Because.
I started to understand why there was such a difference. But although I was starting to comprehend it, but I still didn't grasp it because I didn't live
Leave it.
in it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right?
Mm.
So not living that experience has, for me, it always made the difference for me to kind of understand why some of my friends behave the way they did,
Mhm.
right? Why some of my Caucasian friends also kind of stayed, kind of had their boundaries. But for me, it was just more like, well, I don't know what this is. I don't know what this,
Mm.
I don't know how to cope with this. But with time, you started to learn,
You learn.
you learn the history, you're starting to get into Malcolm X, I started getting into Martin Luther King, I started reading Marco Du Bois, like all the African American history. That really helped me out to kind of say, like, okay, now I see why things are the way they are, why people had the differences at that time. And and it helped me cope, really integrate into the American culture a lot better. But it took me some time. So
Yeah.
that was
Because
the
you were kind of in the middle. You didn't know what
Yeah.
to do.
oh yeah,
So
because
you just like,
I
I just
was
want to have friends.
yeah, and I was
It's
not
funny. Yeah.
mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because we don't get, back home, you're really, honestly, you talk to people based on what you have in common. Because technically, yes, you're all black, but you like soccer, you like cooking, you like knitting, you like basketball. And that's where our mind is.
Important, right? Like we always have
Yes.
this thing about communication is key, but like,
Yes.
wouldn't you have sat down and have this conversation?
Mm-hmm.
You guys could have never been friends or meet other people. So sometimes when people act a certain way, it's just a matter of like, hey, let's talk and understand why
Yeah. Yeah.
can make a big difference.
yeah.
Yeah.
And also, I think one of the things that I try to do different today with my children, as opposed to when I was growing up, is that that's not a conversation that I had with my parents. Like they
Mm.
never really address the differences, right? And they just tell you, you know, to go to school, mom. You know, my dad worked a lot. He would travel, he'll come back. We never really get to sit down and have this kind of conversation about the history of this country. And also is the fact that my father never really like will sit you down and start telling you, just tell you, hey, I don't want you hanging out with that kind of person. I don't want you
Exactly.
hanging out. That's
Yeah.
always stop. It's like, don't
Yeah.
bring this, don't do that, don't
Mm-hmm.
never tell you why,
No
right?
The
And
conversation.
what
why.
you know,
Yes.
that's really it's like I say something, I explain, and you don't ask question, you listen and you do what I say,
Exactly. Do it.
right? And then you left with so many questions,
Yep.
as opposed to if we had those conversations, it would
Mm-hmm.
have helped me understand the environment a little bit better, and also know how to, I can integrate myself, and also know how to I can kind of move around. And that's something that I didn't, you know, I wasn't very aware until I got to college. But it was as opposed to my siblings who kind of like did they did grammar school and they did high school. They had the time to really understand the full culture, and I
Accumulating.
didn't get that chance. So,
Then,
but
mm,
yeah, but it was really a very interesting experience, I have to say.
you know, when
Well,
you think, go ahead,
go ahead,
Marcy.
here. No, I was gonna say, so at the college in New Jersey, what were you studying and how was the
Yeah.
transition academically?
So first and foremost is I went to college because at the time it wasn't really my decision. It was like my parents say, you finish high school, you
You're
go.
going.
Mm.
That was it. Me personally, I wanted to become a professional soccer player.
Mm.
That was my dream since back home. And so when I came to the US, I realized that there is no professional league in America. And I couldn't move to Europe. I couldn't go anywhere because my dad was like, we're not having this conversation ever. Like we'll have this conversation when you graduate. Come to find out that in the US, they have the program where you can be a full-time student and you can also participate in sports. And soccer was one of the programs that they had there. And I said, okay, no problem. I will join in and I'll go study. I'll figure something out. But as soon as I'm graduate, I'm going to play professional soccer. But as I started going to school, I think my first 2 years, I was really never interested of really committing to education, right? I'll do the minimal, I'll pass my classes, because it didn't mean something to me. And I think that's where it's really important. As I realized today, it's like it's so important that you have this conversation with your kids. Like
Yep.
we have a conversation with my sons, and I'm like, okay, these are the options that you have, and this is why you want to do this. This is the options that I can choose for you, but you also have the choice to choose what you want.
Yourself.
And this path here is the better path for you because it's gonna put you in a position years down the line that you could be successful in every endeavors or any um, direction that you want to take. But for me, it was just more like I graduated, I'm done. It just happened that when I finished my sophomore year, I still uh,
A major?
didn't choose my major yet. So I took a bit of computer science. I wasn't too excited about it. It was just like come in one ear, come out the other. And then and then one day I took a class on I think I took a macroeconomics, then I took a micro, and then for micro I had to take economic development. And the economic development, I went to this class I signed up for. There was 25 of us in that class. We signed up.
Yes.
My professor walks in. He comes into the class. He sits on the table, right? And he says, open to chapter one, open to chapter one, and I will, and we're going to revise chapter one. The man started to go over to the first chapter without looking at the book. And economic development was really addressing more of the economic development in the third world countries and why there was such a why there was such a differences between the developed country and the so-called the third world countries. And as he started to speak about the class, and something light up because that was something that always interests me because I was always curious to say why are these countries in Europe they're so advanced, they're so this, and why are we in Africa we're so backward, and the things are not moving forward. And I was always curious about the economy. So that class, I sat there and I listened to this man speak. I'm like, this is a very interesting class. We had the class on Monday. We had the next class on Thursday. I came back on Thursday. There was 8 students left in the class.
Wow.
Everybody else dropped.
Everybody's dropped the class.
Everyone else dropped the class. He dropped the class because he said you're gonna at the end of the end of your semester, you're gonna write a 50, you're gonna do a research and a 50-page paper to
Oh,
talk,
geez.
and you're gonna have to choose a country, study the economic development and study the micro development as well. Look into import and export and see what is that country excels on.
Oh, my word.
People dropped the class. And that was for me, it was just like, boom, this is what I want to learn. And so I did a minor in economics, and I worked also study also social science, and those were my majors. And I stayed in economics because it was more something like that was really personal for me that I wanted to learn, and that really kept me into really wanting to understand the pros and cons of how nations are developed, what policies are actually beneficial, what system actually is functional for a particular country, and why they're using those socialist system, for instance. Why is capitalism is more advantage for America as opposed to Africa? So those differences are the things that really got me, grasped my attention, and I decided to go to that field with the back of the mind. I'm going to play professional soccer.
Okay. Yeah.
So so, obviously, my last year in college, I had the opportunity to, because I was always serious about soccer, even when I was in college. I was a pretty good athlete, um, but there was nothing that I was more serious about than soccer. When my friends went out to party, and if we have a game on Saturday, on Friday, I was staying, I would watch my films, or everybody else is partying. It got to a point where everybody else will go to party, they won't tell me because they know
Wow.
the next day if we lose and I know the team went to a party, I will be livid.
Mhm.
I only find out as we win the game, we go to a party. That's when everybody say, "Oh man, you missed it yesterday." I say, "What did I miss?"
Okay.
Or everyone is like, "Oh, nothing. You didn't miss anything." So I was really serious about that. I was really serious about that, and luckily for me, um, as I was, after my senior year, I was training over the summer. For some reason, I always had the belief that I'm going to make it professionally, but I didn't know how because I didn't have an agent. I didn't play for a big school, so I didn't know how that whole thing is going to plan out. But the only thing I knew is that I need to stay fit. I need to keep training.
Mhm.
It just happened that my coach, who was the assistant coach at the time, he left. He's an Italian guy. One day he calls me up. He said, "Hey, listen, at the time we were living in New Jersey, and the Red Bulls, well, the team name is the Red Bulls. Now they were Metro Stars. Now they call the Red Bulls."
Mhm.
And he says, the Red Bulls are having a training session. They asking for some college players to come in and play to train with the club because some of the professional players were in the vacation time, so they had to go back to their countries. And the only players that was left was mostly the domestic players, like the American players. And then they get a group of college players. You come in, you train for 1 week, and then they get another kid come in for 1 week and train. So I went there. I played on the Division 3. So the majority of the players that get drafted in the MLS were Division 1 players and sometimes Division 2. But Division 3 players really don't get drafted because it's looked at as a much lower level than a Division 1. So I went to the practice, and I will never forget the advice that this man gave me. He's a really good friend of mine, Roberto. Till today, we're still in contact. He says to me, say, when you go out there to tryouts, if they tell you to play in goal, you play in goal.
Go. Mhm.
If they tell you to pick up a flag, you pick up a flag. If they call you John, you say, yes, my name is John. So this man prepared me mentally for
Mhm.
every possible way to have this opportunity. And when I got there, they were at the time that I was there were players that were coming from Europe, coming from Africa, coming from South America. There was all these players that are coming with like unbelievable profile, professional players. And it just happened that one of the days we're doing the practice and they split the teams. This team here had 11 players. The other team also had 11 players. And then one team was missing a defender because I don't play defense. I was playing in attack. They say, oh, we need someone to play in this position. I said, I'll play.
Mhm.
And I went there and I played that position. And we did the practice was over. And I came back the next day when the coach split the team. I went to play with the attacking play. He said, no, 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 you go back. You go back to defense you, because the coach didn't speak the English really well. So he's my name is Nansha. When he asked me what is your name, I say Nansha. Every time I'm playing, he says, hey, Sasha, Sasha. I'm not gonna correct you. You call me Sasha, I'll be Sasha for
I'll
the
be
rest.
Sasha if I can play.
And to be honest, that's how I actually end up making the team. I end up making the team on a position that I never played in my life. I was in a position I was never prepared for. And that's just to show that sometime in life, like opportunity comes, is
Yeah.
never gonna come into the package that you want,
The two.
but you have to be able to recognize when the
Yes.
opportunity is there,
Yes.
right?
Take
And
your
you have
time.
to be able
I
to
love
be
it.
in the present and grasp it, because sometimes you want something in life, um, but you have this. Your mindset is supposed to come in this package. It's supposed to come in this route. It's supposed to come in this, in this time. But sometimes that's not how it works. You can only dream of something, but the universe has a way of channeling that to you, and you just have to be aligned and be present. And that's how things happen that for me. And I always keep that motto in my mind. It's like if I want something, I'll just prepare for it. And I know it's gonna come, and I don't have to worry about how it's gonna come.
I
So
love it.
that but my career was a 5 year professional career in soccer in America. At the time, we were making a lot of money, but it was a dream
Nice.
that came true. And
That's awesome.
Yeah.
yeah, and I was very
And
That's
you,
grateful for
awesome.
that.
you were living your dream and
Oh
you
yeah,
were Sasha.
yeah, I was living my dream in Sasha, but broke as hell. You know, I was, oh man, at that time, the MLS at the time was not paying the amount that they are paying today.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it was for me, it stuck with me because it's something that I always wanted.
Okay.
And I
Good.
use that same formula on everything else that I wanted in life. And I also feel that the same way I met my wife is the same way I I got to professional soccer, because I have something in mind and I stick with that. I expect it's gonna come. I don't know how,
How?
but it happened. And how we met with my wife, it's another story, but we're not here to talk about that. So anyway, yeah, and
And you're
uh,
still in school at the same time? You're still in college, or this is after?
so that was my senior year in college. So I had to stop school for that time, and
Oh, okay.
then after 2 years after that, I got injured, so I went back to finish my degree. And then when I finished my degree, I was trying to go back again to play, but my leg was not healing
Yeah.
properly. I broke a bone in my fifth metatarsal. And luckily for me as well is that this is where I think I always going to be grateful about being in the US, is the fact that I had the opportunity to play, but at the same time, while I was playing soccer, I also had another great opportunities to to acquire my education.
Yeah.
So I have something to fall back on. And because I played in college, I can go and get a professional job. But also, I just transitioned from playing, and I transitioned to coaching. So I coached for 17 years. I was coaching soccer from the collegiate level to the high school level so I kind of worked my way. I coached at a couple of colleges in New Jersey. I worked with Rutgers University. I worked at Jersey City University. Obviously, I went back to my old college. I coached there as
One
well.
coach there.
Oh,
I also
nice.
coached in Greensboro College as well. I worked there as an assistant coach. So it was really a lot of great experience doing that. But it just I transferred that love of being a student athlete to a professional athlete now to becoming a coach in an educational system, and that was really something that I was grateful for. Yeah.
Wow.
And
And you
I'm
see that?
guessing sorry, sir, I'm guessing you needed the degree for you to be able to now get into coaching.
But
Yes.
yes, because
That's
in the
amazing.
collegiate level,
Mm.
you have to have a college degree.
Mm.
Mm.
So you can't be an educator without having the education.
Yes.
Wow.
That
So
makes
so it
sense.
turned out to be a perfect
I know.
decision that you
Yeah.
made just to go to
You took the
college.
words out of my mouth.
It turned out to be the
It's
perfect
because
decision.
the US has a different system. To be quite honest with you, you really don't need the degree to
Mm.
be a coach.
Oh.
You
Mm.
don't. What you do need is licenses. If you're going
I was
to
about to ask
like
you.
coaching, if you're coaching in the from high school to club level and
Gotcha.
academies, you're gonna need some type of licenses to do that.
Mm.
Because with those licenses is also an indication that you're getting which teaches you how to interact with kids, which teaches you about the safety of kids. All those things are important. And America has a really good system in place that when you see, whereas back home, when somebody's a coach, or a basketball coach or a football coach, they don't get the respect as in the US. Because in the US, there is so much more responsibility that comes with that role. Not only you have to deal with the parents, but you also have to educate the kids, right? And the college level, it's a little more different because not only you are a coach, but you're also an educator. You're also responsible for those students' performance. And the athletes are looked at as student athletes, not as athletes. They're first students,
Students and then athlete. Yeah.
athleticism comes after. So we have to ensure that they keep a certain GPA
Good. Yeah.
so that they can remain in a university, as opposed to they're not passing the classes and they're just playing soccer. Then you're gonna have a problem with the university, because when it's all said and done, university is a business, and you bring in students. If you bring in the kids, they want the kids not only to get the education, but they also have to pay the tuition. So all those things is like you have to really, you become a coach, but you also a manager, because you're managing teenagers or young men, and you also are responsible for their growth, and you also have somebody to answer to, the
Exactly.
parents as well, as because you go out there and you recruit them, and you have to share all this, your program, what is about, what it stands for. You have to also explain the education system, what they're going to benefit from that. So it's a really big system in place that what I find is really, really great. And I think, I hope something like that we can have it back home as well, because it's gonna help a lot of kids.
And these licenses that you talked about, like, can you maybe talk about like how many different licenses are there and maybe how long it takes to get those
So
licenses?
the licenses are very tricky because you have diplomas and then you have licenses. You have the U.S. Federation license that you gave is a D, I think it's a E, D, E. You have a C, you have a B, and you have an A license. That's from the A license allows you to coach in a professional level in the U.S. The B license, the C license still allows you to maybe interact with the professional team, but you can coach within the academy level. But then you have the C, the C, the B, and the A license, which is more on the European side. Those are the FIFA license. Those licenses allow you to coach in a professional level in Europe as well as United States. But the European A and B license allows you to coach anywhere in the world, including national teams.
Oh,
And you have to go, actually, you have to go acquire this license. You have to go to trainings. You have to do a yearly training program that they give you, that you have to do the drills that you're gonna apply for your team. But also they look at some of the key components of what makes a coach a coach.
okay.
And those things you only learn it through those courses that you take. And then you also have diplomas in which when you're working with the youth, like you're 13, you're 11, you're 12, there are certain diplomas that you need to acquire to work on that level. So it's really, if you didn't know, I think if you have someone who's into the coaching ranks, or who's actually coaching, you have to understand, the first thing you have to remember is that this person is the educator. Although they're not in the classroom, but they are educating in the soccer field. They have to deal with the players' emotions. They have to deal with the players' differences. Now, on top of that, they have to deal with parents' expectations. So they also have to educate the parents on what your actual work is about. It's not just about, if you're working on a certain age, let's say from 13, from 11 to 14, maybe also 15, you really are educating the children to understand the concept of teamwork, right? You're also teaching them, your responsibility is also to develop them, right? It's not necessarily about winning and losing. It's more about how you develop as an individual. Okay, and then each it also depends on the kid's age and how quickly they're growing. You also got to take that in consideration. That some kids that grow faster than others. You have to kind of take all that into consideration and ensure that you are teaching this kid to perform, but at the same time, you have to make sure that the parents understand that this is a process. And
Because
this
when
is
you think
really,
about it,
Us
oh, go ahead.
parents,
oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
soccer parents.
Right out. You're over there telling the kid, do this and do that. And you're like, can you
Yeah.
let the coach tell the child?
It's tricky in a way because in America, we have a culture of winning. Americans they like winning in everything. They like winning in wars. They like winning in election. They like winning in any competition. They like it's all about winning. We
Winning.
are very competitor. This is a very competitive culture, right? So
Mhm.
when you are talking about development, when the kids are getting beat
Yeah.
5-6 nothing, the parents are looking at you. What development?
What do you mean?
Well,
Yeah.
what do you mean development? But they're also the same age. They're developing. They just beat us 6 nothing.
I know.
It's but then then you have to explain what your child has been playing 2 years, and the other kids over there that just beat him has been playing for 4 years.
Yeah.
So you got to kind of run that by them. Constantly remind the parents why they're there. Constantly remind the parents what. I remember one experience. I was coaching a U12 girls here in North Carolina. That was actually my first team that I took after going back to coaching. And the game is going on. All of a sudden, I see a girl running up the field. She's crying. I said, why are you crying? Did I say something wrong? She said, no, coach, one of the parents over there is telling me I need to run faster, but she keep talking. He keep talking. I said, okay, sit down, calm down. 10 minutes after, another girl runs out. Coach, I don't
Oh boy.
another
Same
parent. I
parents.
say, okay. The game is over. I keep all the girls with me on the bench. I say, girls, I need to go talk to your parents. Can you please sit down? I call all the parents over. I put them in a corner. I said, you guys know why you're here. I had to give them this long speech about forgetting their role and being
Yeah.
focused so much in score. After that, all the parents had to apologize. I said, no, don't apologize to me.
To me, yeah.
I called the girls over. I
Yeah.
said, apologize to the kids.
The girls. Yeah.
So they apologize. So not only that you have to educate the kids, but you also got to worry about parents that you have to educate.
Educate the parents.
It always doesn't work that way. But it is the biggest challenge on coaching on the youth level in America is really the parents.
Because,
It's really the parents. They are the worst.
but you
I'm
know
on
when
the
you,
sidelines. seeing
yeah,
those
when you
parents.
think
You're
about
laughing. You're one of those parents, aren't you?
No, I'm not.
it,
Oh my
tell
God.
us, Shira, we won't judge. We listen, we don't judge.
Yeah.
But I
So,
give them the looks though. I was
Yeah.
like,
yeah. So it's really interesting with that. But it's funny that I'm talking about soccer right now, but for the last 12 years, I wasn't coaching anymore.
oh.
When I left, my last year of coaching, I think was 2013 in New Jersey. And then my wife and I, we decided to move to France. We stayed there for over 10 years. When I got to France, my idea was that as I'm making transition to France, I would get into what I really wanted to do was get into a sports agent because I wanted to be a player representative. Well, when I got there, the system was a bit different because now it wasn't the same as integrating into becoming an agent. You have to know the teams, you have to know the players, and I was hoping that I can get into courses, and the courses was very expensive. I'm just like, oh my goodness, I'm lost. I'm in Paris. My French was broken. I'm like, I lived over here in America. Now I'm asked to reinvent myself.
Wow.
So I was like, what am I gonna do with myself? Now, this is what I wanted to do, and I cannot do it. My wife at the time was in banking, so she got a job in working as a banker in one of the one of the big company over there in France. And I was just like, wait a minute, what am I gonna do with myself? And it took me a while, start looking for a job, and you know, it's one of the things that I'll always be grateful about US is that there's no such a thing as a bad job. As long as you are not stealing, as long as you're not robbing anyone, a job is a job,
The
right?
job,
Job.
yeah.
And my mother also installed that in me. He's always talking about my grandfather, who was always telling her how he started or how he started working. So always staying in my head. So when I got to France, I got a job with, I think at the time it's a company called Fnac, which is kind of similar to
Oh yeah, the
like
CDs where you go
Amazon,
buy the
when you
CDs
go
and
buy
stuff.
CDs.
Yeah.
But it wasn't actually on the store. It was actually on the like this. It was actually in um the storage where the packaging where they actually put all those
Oh, okay.
Put together,
the orders together. That's
yeah.
what I got. That's what was my first job.
Mhm.
Lifting up boxes, packing it up, lifting up, putting up in the truck. I'm like, I went from sitting in the office, being a coach, getting a pretty good salary as well, to
Yeah.
moving to France and doing packaging. I'm just like, this is not happening. And I say, I don't even think I can say this to my siblings. Like, I know my brother was just like, yo, you sure you want to make this move? You sure you want to move to France? I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, it's good for the kids. They're going to learn language. Then I'm starting to
Mhm.
think, I'm like, but I get up in the morning, I
There
go,
you go. Yeah.
it was an interim program. So sometimes they call you, sometimes they don't call you. Then one day I'm just sitting there. My wife's brother say, yeah, you speak English. You're fluent in English. Your French is not bad. You ever thought about getting into hospitality? I'm like, not really. He's like, just put your resume together. You never know.
Yeah.
I said there one day, I put my resume together. And this is really, this is what sometimes, you really
Pull
just
it
gotta,
out.
yeah.
Yeah.
I was just like, all right, I'll put this together. I wasn't expecting anything, but I'm like, yeah, it's time for me to find something else. It's really
Mhm.
the decision I made. I say, okay, I've done this. This is not, first of all, it's not bringing me a lot of money.
Mhm.
It's a very difficult job to do because it's a more physical work to do. And I'm like, okay, I'm pleased I'm working, but I want something different. So I put my resume together. At the time, my wife traveled here. She came here in the US.
Mhm.
I believe, yeah, she did come to the US. She was in a break for like 2 weeks. I put the resume together and I posted it. I just went online. There was this hotel that was opening up. I posted it up like on Wednesday. The next day they call me up. They said, "Are you ready? Would you be able to come in on Friday for an interview?" I said, "Sure." I go there on Friday. I walk into this hotel, which was in an area called La Défense, which is like the business district of Paris. There was literally 120 people in there.
Whoa.
Oh gosh.
So that was just an experience. I went there. Next thing you know, I took a job. I started working there as a front desk agent.
Mhm.
Worked there. I did that for a year. Then I moved out to MOD, which is a front desk manager.
Mhm.
And then one day my regional manager came in. I'm like, hey, you know what? I would like to be what is the next step for me to become an hotel manager?
Mhm.
Really? You would like to do that? I said, yeah, absolutely. He's like, wow, why did you never say anything? I said, well,
Mhm.
I never came into my mind, but I
Speaking
want to
up.
do that.
Mhm.
Next thing you know, 2 years after that, the opportunity came in for me to come to work in the US. And they're like, hey, would you like to go to the US and help open up one of the hotels in Miami? I said, absolutely. I would like to do that. Went to
Wow.
Miami, transferred
Mhm.
here to Miami while my wife's still in France. And then while I was there within that 6 months, I got an offer to
Mhm.
become a general manager in one of the properties. One was in Boston, another one in DC.
Mhm.
So I took the one in DC. And next thing you know, the wife came back here. We were back in the US. I
Mhm.
worked there for 2.5 years. Then I was just like, my wife moved in Carolina. Then the next thing you
Mhm.
know, I moved in Carolina, took another job with the Marriott,
Mhm.
and I've been
Mhm.
working with them. And then it was just, I went from one experience to the next.
To
Right
another,
now, I'm
yeah.
like, I'm trying to figure out what will be my next experience as well. So, see where I'm at
I
right now.
love I
Yeah.
love how
Yeah.
versatile your household is,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
So from banking, finance, your wife went to wellness. Now you from soccer to
Mhm.
hospitality.
Yeah.
It's just like
And
water.
yeah, it's important to have that like open-minded, right? Like,
Yeah.
okay, soccer
Yeah.
is not working right now, but I
Mhm.
I have other talent, I have other
Yeah.
qualification that I can
Yeah.
do. And I
Yeah.
was just adding on to like when and I'm not saying that because I'm married to a coach,
Yeah.
but seriously, like coaches are great mentors. Honestly,
Yes.
they really shape these kids. And we have to remember those are kids that are like going through adolescence. They
Mhm.
go into a period of time that the parents sometimes don't even know
Mhm.
what to do. Like, how many times I will hear people call my husband and say, hey, can you talk to my son? Can you?
Really?
Because they have this impact on them because from the
Yeah.
get-go, they know that, okay, with the coach, this will go, this will not go.
Mhm.
So you guys do an amazing job with the youth
Yeah.
when you're a coach and you love what
Coaching
you
is
do.
really it's you all like African background. when we're talking about coach, we're just talking about people kicking a ball and running around. In America has taken coaching in a different level. Has,
Different
you know, in your universities, you have coaches that have PhD, you know, you have coaches that have masters, because you, when you are working on that level, you're looking at, you're an educator. And then when you're looking at the youth level, where you necessarily don't need to have the PhD, but you still are educating. You are dealing with boys and girls who are going to different stage of their lives. You as the coach, you are like this. You're like the coach, but also you're like a parent on the field, because you have that responsibility to kind of influence their life positively or negatively as well. So when your children or your son or your daughter has a really good coach next to her, you will see that that child become very enthusiastic and wanting to learn more and wanting to play more. It's the same as having a teacher in school, right? Some teachers can inspire their students, and some teachers can really leave a bad taste in the mouth of the students based on the relationship that as teacher really invest on the students. And we and the coaches also have that same kind of responsibilities, you know, because when it's all said and done, we are all educators. We are all trying to develop this uh, our children, the youth, to guide them to the right path, you know. And that's one of the most important things. What I think the US has this system in place why children are participating in sports, because it kind of prepares you for the real life as well, right?
Yeah.
Because competition is part of life.
Yep.
Although you are having fun, although you are kicking around, although you're doing all of these things, but you are doing it in a friendly environment, but also you also getting in the understanding that there is competition somewhere that you are dealing with. So that when you become an adult, you also understand that you're getting out there looking for jobs. They're gonna be competition, right? It's all how you approach it, or what your discipline is, what your focus is. It really helps a lot. And a lot of jobs, I recall that they always ask, you know, what's your background? Have you, if you went to school, did you play sports, or
Any
did you
sports, yeah.
join some type of a group? Because they want to know that you can work within a group set, right? And this is why athletes are favored in some jobs, because you already know how to work with a group. If you know how to work with a group, it means you can deal with conflicts. But if you never
Yeah.
work with a group, then it's kind of like you went to college 4 years, you didn't do anything else, you didn't join a group, you didn't do this, you didn't do that. Not to say that this is one of the reasons why people join fraternity or sororities, but from my experience in sports, I think it's something that really helped. Not only that, after that, but you also have friends who go in and do different things. You also have your contacts. You have like that family that you have. In the same way as when you're coaching your youth, you have some of these kids, they end up deciding to go to the same college, right? Because they have been friends for 4 or 5 years and they want to keep their friendship. So it's really interesting. It's really fun doing that. Yeah.
And like I feel like we in a like you were saying, our parents, they were not really into listening anything if you're not
No.
gonna be a doctor or an attorney, or
Yep. Yeah.
But I also think that because they didn't have that in their parents, right? So they
Absolutely.
didn't know how to replicate that. But I like
Yeah.
that our generation are good at like listening to our kids. Yes, we have that side of like, well, maybe you should go this way, but we're not gonna stop their passion or their talent, because there's a business side to everything.
Yeah.
There's a
Yeah,
business side to everything.
I think what I try to do today is, especially with my kids, is, you know, it's not easy, and I think I have to give credit to my wife as well, because she's always, after me and my sons would get into a back and forth where I'm like, okay, this is where it stops. She'll pull me aside. You know, she always had the feedback. She always giving this constructive feedback to reflect a little bit on maybe you could have done it different. And for me, it's always, I never, when I turn around, I don't blame my parents the way they raised me. I think they raised me the perfect way they can raise me
best
based
way.
on what they knew.
Yeah, the
Right?
best way they
You first
knew.
have to come into
The
understanding.
best
And then I try to take the good that I got, and I also try to tweak a little bit of the style of education so I can do a little bit different. Because now you're dealing with kids who are millennium kids who have different perspective, who are very quick on their decisions, and they're a little bit advanced than I can say that when I was younger. They ask you questions that you never thought they can ask you, that you never even ask your parents. Now you
Yeah.
have sons are asking you, you know, that like my second oldest was like, so when did you lose your virginity?
Like, what did you say?
Oh God.
First of all, where did you
What did
hear
you
that?
say? Exactly.
Then,
So,
Do you know what that means completely?
yeah,
Why
so,
you
you
go-
know, just like that, right? It's like you're like,
ask you.
well,
Go to
We
your
talk
bed.
about that. We talk, you know, so
Go
I
to
would
the room.
never, ever, till today, never had that conversation with my parents, right? But
Yeah.
you have to have a conversation with our children because they're growing into a different environment.
Yeah.
You have to be open. You want to leave that line of communication open because my wife is always saying that she's like, because if they're out there, they're going to something, you want them to come to you and
Yes.
To you.
Yes.
and the way
They'll
that
ask
have
someone else.
they
Yes.
have to have one of the parents, either if it's not the
Yeah.
father, it has to be the mother.
Mm-hmm.
And my sons are very slick. They know what to say to me and they know what to say to her.
Yeah.
Because you know, and they play both sides, but it still is good because whatever anything that they'll tell my wife, she will tell me.
Mhm. Yeah.
But she also has a way of telling me so that I don't get upset, so it doesn't backfire to her.
Backfire. Yeah.
Right. And the same way they do with me, I would tell her so that we can all be aligned because we are trying to raise them together.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So we don't
Exactly.
need to have two camps. We are together in this.
Mhm.
Regardless of what they say, don't tell daddy. I say, don't worry, I won't tell him. Don't worry, don't tell your mother. I still tell her because she
Mhm.
needs to. And then
Bedroom conversations. They don't need to be
You
talked
just
about.
you just don't
exactly
tell
right.
it exactly, but you make her understand what
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
means, you know.
And my wife is very good too, especially when they get in trouble. She won't tell me right away. She'll tell me like after the fact. Oh, you know this is. I'm like, what? Like, wait a minute. This is taken care of. You don't have to say anything. Da da da. And it's like, oh, okay. But you know, that's also part of wisdom for her to really find a balance.
Yeah.
Making sure that we keeping our culture in place.
Mhm.
You know, try to always because you know it's so important that regardless of us being in America, which is a great country, but
Mhm.
we always want to remind our children that
Yes.
there is a bigger picture than the United
Mm.
States. I think
Mhm.
that's
Yeah.
the advantage that our children
Yeah.
are being born in America is that they have a different perspective.
Mhm.
Other than just being in the US, there is another life outside of America that they can
Outside.
actually
Mhm.
go in and lead
Mhm.
themselves. And I think
Yeah.
that's really an advantage why we made that decision to move to France and we came back to the US. They're bilingual, which is an advantage. They learn a
Mhm.
different culture. They travel to Africa and back. And
Mhm.
we're still working into that. It's still a work in progress. So,
Yeah.
That's nice.
Ah,
How
that's
is it
awesome.
coaching your kids versus other people's kids?
oh my God. I actually, so I did not want to, so,
Uh-huh.
so when I take my sons to practice, we always clash with my second
Yep.
oldest. Always clash. We clash because he won't listen.
Yeah.
My youngest one has, he's really laid back. He listens to me more than my second oldest do.
Mhm.
So, but when it was time for me to actually coach the team, now I'm coaching my youngest. I'm coaching his team, the youth 16. It's much easier to coach his age group because he's not very fiery like my son. My son is a little my second oldest is like me. He's
I
a
was gonna
better
say, who's
self.
he taking after?
Mhm.
Yeah, he's really like myself. So I avoided coaching him. I'll give him advice, but I won't tell him. Um, I try not to get involved too much in his games. But then the funny thing is that when he comes back, he's like, "Oh, you know what my coach say? He said this, and that." But that's what you say to me. I'm like,
That you say. Mhm.
you want to
Ah.
hear from somebody else? Like, oh, okay.
Before you can
Yeah.
take it, yeah.
It's always difficult. Like right now, I'm coaching my son in the youth 16, and I have to be very careful of how I'm dealing with him
Mhm.
while there are other kids there.
Yes.
One, he's not gonna make the difference that you a coach. He's gonna say, "You my dad," right?
Yeah.
That, yeah.
But
Mhm.
me as a coach, I have to remember that that's my son, but at the same time, my responsibility is to the team.
The team.
So I have to find that balance, not to be biased, right?
Mhm.
And one of the things that helps me is we have this conversation on our way back from practice. I will ask him questions. I ask him how he feels. I will ask him what's his takeaway on some of the things that I say in practice. We have that conversation. So that conversation that we have helps us have an understanding where I don't have to favor him, but he knows he has to earn certain things on the field, like to be a starter, to get more minutes. He knows the things that he has to do so that it doesn't reflect as favoritism to the kids in the team. It also doesn't reflect favoritism to the parents because it goes pretty quick.
Exactly. Quickly.
It goes like that
Very quickly.
Very
Yeah.
very
quick.
quickly.
Yeah.
So I always try to be very careful. Always trying to stay neutral. It's a very hard thing to do.
Oh, yeah.
But
I
Yeah.
can imagine.
yeah, it's
I
a
know the
very
last time my husband coached our oldest, one time my oldest came home and he's like, Mom, I need you to talk to my coach because this is not gonna work. I was like, okay, I will. But but he's right. I'm sure it's so hard because I know last Sunday we watched his sons play and we were standing there and the first half he didn't put his younger one in. And I was like, well, why is he not putting him in? And my son was like, well, Mom, because he cannot be subbing or whatever. But I'm like, but that's his son. He should be in there. And they're like, Mom, that's not
Exactly.
how
Oh,
it
that's
works.
sweet.
That's not how it works.
Yeah, the expectation of a father to
Uh-huh.
get your son out there and have some fun. But
Yeah.
it's in a way you don't really look at it as a job because it's something that you're very passionate about. I'm sure
Passionate. Mhm.
you can relate on something that you woke up the next day and you're like, oh, I gotta do this again. It
Yeah.
never was for me when it came to coaching. It was always something that I knew that I always had it in me. Like I look forward to it. Like I prepare myself to it. It's not like when you're waking up the next day, you have to go to work and you just iron your clothes. You're like,
Uh-huh.
You're like,
No.
no.
Again,
It's,
another day.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's really something I'm very passionate about.
That's
And
awesome.
yeah, I really enjoy doing that.
I
Yes.
can
Yeah.
look at it.
Yeah.
It's just, you can feel the passion.
The passion, yeah.
Well, yeah.
And
It's
I'm so excited that we did this because especially back home, you have a lot of young kids, or anywhere, even here, a lot of young kids that love soccer.
Mhm.
They may not think that you can do anything with soccer, like outside of
Yeah.
just playing with your friends. So it's good to have like a insight of what you can do with just
With
the
soccer.
skill
Absolutely.
that you have,
I love
I
it.
I
Yeah.
think that's one of the things that it's in the plan is really to trying to create that connections between back home and here because obviously you have people that have programs where they can develop the student athlete there and maybe put them in schools where they're already learning English and they have that scholarship program where you can actually bring them here. That's something that we kind of like had in mind thinking about how we could do it, obviously. Um, but we'll see. Maybe it will be in the making. Not that I'm really fully back into
Maybe it's
coaching.
the next
Probably
step.
something that we can keep doing. Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Well,
Okay.
Nansha, it's been a treat. Can you give us some final advice that you could give somebody who just came to the US, who's thinking about career choices, education? What would you advise?
Um, for me, I think the most important thing is, regardless of how you get in America, you have to have a vision. You must have a vision of what you want to accomplish in this land. That's the first thing. Know why you're here and what is your goal, and have a really a vision and a goal in mind of what you want to accomplish, so that you don't get distracted, discouraged on the challenges that comes your way, right? Because people will say, "Oh, I want to do this," but then it becomes difficult for them to accomplish it because now they are going to challenges. But sometimes those challenges need to shape your character for the goals that you have. So you must stick in course, right? Because you want something, but if you're not ready for it, the path that you're taking is going to shape you to get you to where you want to get. So for me, that's the first advice: is really believe in yourself. It's extremely important. You must believe in yourself because this country has a way of lifting you and it also has a way of bringing you down.
Yes.
So you must be prepared for that. You must be prepared to be have a strong character, and never give up. Obviously, you don't want to do that, but really just your vision. I think anything that you can visualize, you can accomplish,
I
and
agree.
just be ready for the storm that comes in the way for that.
Mm.
So that's the preparation. That's what I can share.
Get
I
through
love
it
it.
and get up. Yeah.
That is
That's
Man, you
awesome.
guys, why does the time fly so fast when we're
I
having?
know.
I know.
Like, I
huh?
have so many questions.
Yeah,
Maybe we'll have to
exactly.
do part two one of these days.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe one of these days, but I'm sure you ladies have, if you just started, you have a lot more interesting people coming through. This is something
Oh,
great to be
Very
doing.
interesting.
no,
I
this
would
Yeah,
have
I'll be
asked
is
you.
watching.
amazing.
Yes, I'll be watching and I'll
You
be definitely
Oh,
supporting your
Very.
thank
podcast.
you. You know, it's amazing the different types of jobs out there that just never have thought about.
Exactly.
So
Honestly,
we're coming across, right? It is,
honestly,
it's
Absolutely.
me,
amazing.
if I wouldn't have married a soccer player, like I remember when I met him and he say he coaches, I was like, so, but what else do you do?
What are we going to
Exactly.
be eating?
You
Like,
didn't
what
think you could do
else?
that full time. It's
I
actually
know.
a
It's like
profession.
I'm coaching full time, like, but what else? And then once I start learning it, I was like, oh, keep coaching. It's good.
Yeah. It's and
Yeah.
that's the great thing about being in the US, right? Is there's so many paths in life that you can take. You are
Yes,
responsible for choosing those path and
I
be
know.
ready for it, because once you get there, you need to recognize that you got there and be grateful and thankful about
Mhm.
it. Sometimes we forget to give grace
Mm.
because we're always thinking about the next move. We're always thinking about accomplishing the next step. But just remember to be grateful and thankful where you are and what's going on in your life.
Yeah.
You know, give a lot of grace because that
Yeah.
that opens up more doors for more grace.
You're
I
here
am
for a
I'm
reason.
Grace too. My name is Grace. Yes, I
Grace,
give
I know.
grace everywhere.
You're here for a
Wow, that's
reason.
beautiful though. Yes,
Yep.
Well,
that's
thank you
great.
so much,
Well, thank
yeah,
you,
for your
Nansha.
time.
Well, thank you for having me,
Insightful.
ladies.
Yeah.
Yes,
We want to
thank
do
you,
that in part
Nansha.
two.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Cheers.
I actually learned English back home in Puerto Rico because my parents didn't know English, so they wanted their daughters to know English. So, with a lot of sacrifice and
Oh,
split on split payments, like I'm telling you, I on the casual days and whatever, I didn't have like new clothes or whatever. I couldn't go. I would go to the birthday parties, but not all the time. I would like have something to give the birthday party person.
Mm,
But I did have like education, and I believe that's like the best gift they gave me.
mhm,
They literally
yes.
sacrificed a lot to pay those monthly payments. Even the tuition, my mom would have to work everything out and pay it in little payments. But she was like, no, your education, that's number one. And
Mhm.
that's like the best gift she gave me because I know a language that she doesn't, but it's because she wanted me to grow.